Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Corson Schmidt. Here today, I have Viraf Baliwalla. Viraf is a trailblazer in the automotive industry with over 24 years of experience as a car broker, licensed dealer, and insurance claim expert. As the founder of the Automotive network, Viraf has built a reputation for championing the consumer developing initiative, business solutions that help people navigate some of the industry's biggest challenges. With a Bachelor of Math and Computer Science from University of Waterloo, Viraf brings a unique analytical and problem-solving approach to every venture. His entrepreneurial spirit extends beyond automotive, with successful initiatives in online auctions and estate sales, helping seniors downsize and families settle estates. Known for his varied and fearless career journey, Viraf is passionate about figuring things out as he goes and making a real impact for his clients. And I would like to introduce you to Viraf Baliwalla.
Hi, Carson. Thank you for having me here.
Hey, no worries. I'm glad to have this conversation with you. So before we really dive into anything, do you mind just telling the audience a little bit more about your background? Because you spent over 2 decades in the car brokering, dealership operation, and insurance claim kind of industries, but what first drew you to the automotive industry?
Well, it kind of goes well beyond the automotive industry, and I think in your intro, you said something about figuring it out. And that's kind of one of the things that really I pride myself on, is that there's a lot of status quo out there, and we all get conditioned by the user behavior, and this is what's expected of us out there. And I like to look at things from a different perspective and figure out better ways of doing things.
For sure.
So going back to my university days, one of my summer terms, I actually got a little grant from the Youth Venture Program. It was like $5,000 or whatever, but you're able to start your own business. And at that point, I actually started something. So this is going back to like 1984, right? Started a little business that we called Computer Classifieds. And a buddy of mine and I, that summer, we spent, we got an Amiga computer, for any of those who are old enough to remember those types of things. Built ourselves a little database, and at that point there was no internet, right? So we would get phone calls from people saying, I've got a fridge for sale, and we would manually enter that into our database, and then sometime else we would get a call saying, hey, I'm looking for a fridge, and so we've got one in our database here. And so we would be that manual, what today is done by computer and websites, we were doing all that manually.
That's awesome.
Being 2 youngsters in school, starting off this sort of venture, we got a lot of press coverage. So the kids from Waterloo Record, that was going to Waterloo at the time, they came in, they did a full-page story on us and everything else. And so that really started to get the ball rolling. During that time, we actually started to approach car dealers and said, hey, listen, we built this online classifieds sort of thing. What if we can get all your cars and put them into the website, into our database, right? I'm too conditioned to what today's world is. But if we could put those into our database, and then hopefully we can help match people who are looking for certain types of vehicles with you, and you guys can make a sale. And we'll charge you $25 per listing or something. So the dealers were, yeah, this is great. So fast forward, end of the summer, business is just starting to get momentum, but our little grant kind of ended, and we had to go back to school to finish off the next term. And so we kind of put a kibosh on that program. But it's kind of always stuck with me, and I think I've always had a sense of matching buyers and sellers of things. And so after graduating from the University of Waterloo back in 1986, this very interesting thing came out, and it was called a Macintosh computer. Right, so I'm really dating myself here. And so I took that and I started to build a desktop publishing business at the time. And a few years later, as the internet started to become more popular, I took that classifieds approach and I started to create an online website for it. In the meantime, we were working with a lot of newspapers in helping to computerize with Macintoshes their classifieds departments and things like that. So it was all kind of meshing together, little Venn diagrams overlapping each other, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And from there, our classifieds started to become popular. Online classifieds. We were the first one in Canada that had an online classifieds engine, and we used to actually power 23 radio station classifieds websites. So in Toronto,
wow.
you got Easy Rock, Chum FM, like their classifieds were all us. And we had people in Seattle and Vancouver, Victoria, and Nebraska, and we had all these radio stations that were using us. So it was a central database.
Mm-hmm.
But then whenever somebody came from their website to us, it would flip the header.
Okay.
So this is Easy Rock classifieds. This is Chum FM classifieds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with classifieds, as before, the cars were one of the most popular categories. And so this is long before AutoTrader was out, long before any of these other platforms existed. And so we started going out to the car dealerships and said, hey, this thing called the internet, it's going to be really popular someday, right? And if we can get your inventory and put it online, we can showcase it. So some of the dealers really took me under their wing and taught me everything about the car business that they could.
That's
and
cool.
I was kind of working with them to computerize their inventory at the time. And, time went on. And next thing you know, AutoTrader went online a few years later. And, of course, here's 76,000 vehicles that you got to compete with in Ontario alone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, how are we going to do this? We don't want to be competing with yet another advertising solution for dealers. So let's take what we've learned and make it available for the consumer as a broker, right? So people will call us and I'm looking for such and such, and we'd already developed relationships with dealers of all makes and models.
Yeah.
And so as a result, we were able to make those connections, work out great deals for them. Everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that whole part of it got going on. So we started to approach some companies and said, listen, guys, why don't you make this as an employee benefit for your staff? Because when they need a car, they're taking time off work, they're focused on different things. It's not a very good time. It's stressful for them. And then one of the first companies we hit was an insurance company. And I'm sitting there talking to the VP of HR, talking about all the benefits that we'd be able to provide. And they said, hang on a second, don't say any more. So she makes a phone call, brings down the VP of claims, right, for vehicles.
Yeah.
And he says, so tell me about this again. I explained it to him. And he said, look, we don't need anything for our employees. We don't need any employee benefits. But what we do have is we have these insurance claims, and we don't know how to value the vehicles. And we get a lot of pushback, both from the customer as well as from dealers. So we'll call dealers and say, hey, your customer has totaled their vehicle. We want to know what's a replacement cost for it. And they say, oh, you're the insurance company. Well, it's full MSRP, right? But send them over. We'll take good care of them. Click, right? So they said, we can't get any headway towards that. Can you help us? So at first I walked away. And he said, no, don't do that. I said, look, you guys are looking for settlement values. You're not looking to replace the vehicles. The dealers in my network, they want to sell the vehicles. He said, well, why don't you try to come up with a solution that will make both sides happy?
Yeah.
And so we did. And then one insurance company after the other started to jump on board. And over the course of 20 years, we had most of the insurance companies that we were dealing with. But it's a tough racket when you're dealing with insurance companies because it's very demanding. It's low margin, but high volume. And they expect fast turnaround, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really burning us out. We had built this large team of 20 people to service these insurance claims. And it was really sort of burning us out at the pace that we had to do it. And we were trying for years to get away from providing insurance companies these services. But unfortunately, because they were paying us so much, we were kind of locked in with, I got payroll to meet, I got lights to keep on, etc. So it's hard to just kind of walk away, right? But eventually we were able to break relationships with one after the other, primarily because they found cheaper solutions that weren't doing as thorough a job. And unfortunately, the consumer, the public, suffered because of that. You had so much consolidation of these insurance companies that they started to focus more on the bottom line rather than providing a fair settlement. And when I got into it, everybody was looking at a fair settlement, all the claims managers and that. We want to make sure we're paying what we're supposed to pay. Eventually is we got to make sure we're paying as little as we can, right? And so that was the final straw. Everybody broke away, and we developed a service for the consumer that leveraged all the expertise that we had developed over the years for the insurance side. So now we have this product called AutoClaim Helpers.
Okay.
And that service helps people who've had a total loss, and their insurance company gives them a report. And I can tell you from personal experience that in most cases, the settlement values that they come up with, the research that they use, is subpar. And so you're going to get a lower value than what your car is actually worth.
Yeah.
So we've created this service because we know how. And we're able to assess those figures, and we provide a fair settlement approach for the public, right?
Okay, really
and
cool.
then, of course, because we've got a dealer's license and being that auto broker, we're able to help people replace that vehicle with something similar or something that now fits within their budget.
And you work with dealers to do that? You'll be speaking with dealers to try to get them a good deal, and obviously the fair price as well, since you
So
work in the industry.
I work on my client's behalf. So think of us like a real estate agent. If you're going to want to buy a home, you're going to hire a real estate agent. They're going to have access to the inside information, of the industry. They're going to do all the legwork to find the perfect property for you. They'll show you the property, and then you pay them a commission at the end of the day, right?
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we do the same thing for car brokers. Those people, you don't like car shopping, we'll take on that task for you. We'll find you the vehicles that you want, and we'll negotiate the best prices we can on your behalf.
For sure.
We charge a flat fee for our service. So that way there's no conflict of interest.
Awesome. Just so the audience can get a little bit more of context on what you guys do, can you kind of share a story where you really helped a client overcome a major challenge dealing with an insurance company?
Well, sure. I can tell you scads of examples of those types of things, but I'll use this one from British Columbia. So BC has got ICBC, Insurance Corporation of British Columbia. And they are a public insurer as opposed to Ontario that has private insurance companies providing the policies. Okay, so ICBC had this vehicle that was being written off, and it was a young woman. She didn't have a lot of money, and so they offered her, I think it was around almost $7,000, $6,700 or something of that nature. And she somehow found us and said, this is what's happened, my vehicle's been totaled, blah, blah, blah. And so I started getting involved with her on that, and we ended up getting her back almost $11,000, so like a 77% higher settlement because of it. Now, normally insurance companies, especially in British Columbia or private insurers, they don't want to go too far. Like, they'll negotiate as much as they can. But in this particular case, they decided they were going to dig their heels in. Now, it could have been because I'd done a number of claims out in British Columbia, and each time it was kind of embarrassing for them having to say, well, yeah, we were wrong, so now we're going to pay you the right amount. And so maybe somebody was trying to make a good name for themselves or whatever, but they dug their heels in, and this is what they were going to stick with. Now, the rules, no matter which jurisdiction you go in, say that insurance companies cannot force you to accept a lowball offer. They cannot force it down your throat. There is a process whereby there is, some level of consumer protection. And that's typically called the appraisal process. So you have every right to dispute a number, but then you have to provide the right information and present it in the right way so that way, they can assess it. And we know how to do that. So through those years of experience in the insurance industry, we know how to do that. So what we did was we came back with our appraisal on the vehicle and showed it was a lot higher. And so they came back, they fought it, they disputed it. And in that particular case, if we can't both come to terms, so them and me, if we can't come to terms, then they have to hire a neutral umpire
Okay.
in order to assess both sides' data and determine which one is correct.
Okay. And that all comes on the insurer's side?
Well, no.
Or does it get split?
So if that happens, both sides have to split the cost.
Okay.
Okay. And in BC, it's a little bit different than throughout, the Ontario and Alberta, et cetera, whereby they have to use the ADR, the Alternate Dispute Resolution Association.
Okay.
So there's an association for that, and so they have to use them to get arbitrators to review these data, right?
Okay.
And so they had a lawyer review our data, a lawyer review their data, and the lawyer just couldn't believe what they were trying to get away with.
Yeah.
Right? And so not only did the lawyer award us our total amount that we were seeking, but also penalize them a little bit because of that, right? And so that was a great success story that we had.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And
my pleasure.
And I was speaking to another gentleman. He's actually from BC, and he does something similar to this. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that there's so many loopholes in the insurance, not loopholes, but I'd call them loopholes, but in the insurance side that it's all set up to benefit them.
Oh, of course.
Can you just share some of the advantages that insurance brokers use that kind of change the direction of a consumer so they're paying more but getting really in less coverage, and some of those loopholes that us as consumers really miss?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, you wouldn't know how to combat that because you can't just say, well, I feel my car is worth more than what you're giving me. Right?
Yeah.
I feel is not legitimate. The right information has to be presented in the right way, and only then will they even consider. Most of the claims that we do for people, the insurance company just says, oh, it's these guys. Okay, just cut them a check, right? And don't worry about it. But there are some times when they dispute, and then they have to get this other appraiser involved, and then we have to get the umpire involved and whatnot. But I haven't lost a case yet, so my customers have always benefited.
For sure. When it comes to buying and selling cars,
yes.
How do you guys navigate this to make it really beneficial for the consumer to make sure they're getting a good car?
We actually go to great lengths to have the vehicle independently inspected. And of course, because our service is based here in Toronto, but we can service anywhere in North America, and we do have clients in the States that have used us as well as coast to coast here in Canada. Part of our process is let's find the vehicle and let's negotiate the pricing subject to a clean Carfax report or a good result from the inspection. Just because a car's got a claim on it doesn't mean it's a bad car. If it's been repaired properly, there's no reason to really be concerned about it.
For sure.
But we do want it to go to a licensed garage, have it independently inspected, check the vehicle history and whatnot, just to make sure that we've mitigated the risk for them. We can't necessarily eliminate the risk, right? But at least we can mitigate it. And then if the customer, depending on their risk tolerance, if they want, they can always buy through us an extended warranty or something like that to protect them against major issues as well.
That's super cool. So you guys do all of Canada, and then you go into the States as well. How are the laws changed between province to province and even the States?
The laws themselves, there's some things like in Ontario, when you're advertising, it has to be all-in pricing, as an example, right? But the rest of the country is not necessarily that way. In many areas, they advertise kind of the lowest base price, and then it's ching, ka-ching, ka-ching when you get to the table and you're writing up the deal, right?
Yeah.
So there's this and there's that, and they kind of force it down your throat. But being from the industry, we're able to help people navigate around that. And as a buffer, we can make sure things are right before it gets to the customer.
For sure.
Right.
Definitely. No, that's awesome. Do you think the knowledge of consumers knowing that dealerships are trying to take advantage of them is getting more and more? Are more people coming to you because they think dealerships are trying to get that step above consumers?
That has been a mindset for long before I came on the scene.
Yeah.
And I think the industry was doing things that were not necessarily legit, right? Or not, certainly not in the customer's best interest. Because let's face it, it's a commission-based pay structure.
Yeah.
And so when that's the case, there's a lot of high-pressure sales tactics and other techniques that are used to get that person to sign when they're in that dealership. Even in Ontario, we're still, as a licensed dealer, I'm getting notifications from OMVIC, which is the regulatory authority here, but we still get notified by this dealer did unconscionable things and therefore they've been fined for this, or they've had their license taken away or whatever. So that does still exist. There's a lot of great dealers out there, so I don't want to kind of paint everybody with the same brush, saying that, oh, everyone's trying to take advantage of you. But the reality is it is hard work. It takes a lot of time to find the right vehicle. It's a little bit easier now because you can shop online. But even when you're shopping online, a lot of times those vehicles that are advertised are not there. And the only way you're going to find that out is if you're contacting that dealership to say, hey, I'm interested in this vehicle. Oh, it's sold already. Okay, fine, right? And so now you got to go through that. And so we take away a lot of the burden of that whole process.
For sure.
So by the time you get stuff from us, it's like, okay, we found that the vehicle is there. Here's the pricing of it that we've been able to negotiate. And if you're interested in this vehicle, we can just match you up. So we've really put together systems that minimize the stress and the negative parts of that experience. But let's face it, a lot of people love doing test drives.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's the haggling afterwards, or it's I got to go talk to my manager, and those kinds of techniques that really turns people off the process.
For sure. And then and that's where you come in, right?
That's where
you're helping them. You're helping them find a good deal, so they don't really have to deal with. You're kind of sitting down with the dealership themselves and setting the deal for the consumer, as long as they're happy with the vehicle. That's kind of like the short form.
We're not physically sitting down with them because we'll be doing it remotely. I can pick up the phone and deal with somebody in California or in PEI, right? And not every dealer is going to be as cooperative.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Because of what we do, we're in a really good position to make 5 phone calls instead of having to visit 5 dealerships.
For sure. And for assessing vehicle cost, do you guys have kind of independent shops that you work together with, or do you guys kind of go off of your own book value, or how do you guys assess, say you have a 2015 Volkswagen GTI or something like that, and they want 30 grand for it? How do you assess if that's a good deal or not for the consumer that's interested in the vehicle?
That's a really good question, especially on used cars. On new cars, it's very much simpler.
Yeah.
Because a new car is a new car is a new car, regardless of which dealership you get it from, right?
Yeah.
You might have a few more kilometers on, a little bit more mileage, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much a brand new car, right?
Yeah.
When you're negotiating the price of a new car, you're not negotiating the price of the car. You're negotiating the level of profit that dealer is going to make, because every dealer is buying that vehicle at the same price, right? From a wholesale or manufacturer level. And then they're selling it based on their markups. Markups, and of late, the extra fees that many dealerships have been charging. And if you don't take, this extended warranty, well, we'll just sell it to the next guy who will.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're able to bypass much of that. On used cars, it becomes much more difficult because you don't know how much somebody has actually paid for that car, and you don't know what kind of costs have gone into reconditioning it.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So being in the business, we're able to actually have a different type of conversation and say, okay, so what do you got in it? What do you need for the car? And, if we can hopefully do some business, it's not just today's business, but it's also down the road that we can bring more deals to the table.
For sure. And make deals with those dealerships that have good used vehicles that support their vehicles, right? Yeah. Do you see more consumers pushing towards used vehicles versus new after they do have a issue with their vehicles? Say they get in a crash, they go through the insurance process with you and you help them find a new vehicle. are a lot more people pushing towards a used vehicle in this time right now because vehicles are so expensive, or do you see people still buying a new vehicle off the lot?
There's still a lot of new vehicles that are being sold. Certainly not as many as there used to be, right? When prices were different and times were different. But I think the statistics in general will say that people are keeping their cars for longer, and they aren't necessarily going, there's a higher uptick in used purchase as opposed to new. That's just sort of in general.
Yeah, for sure. And from the podcast, I've heard a lot of dealers say that it's a lot harder to get used vehicles now because people are holding on to them. And it's harder to have quality used vehicles at the same time as well.
And the bigger part of that is that when there's a used vehicle that's available, quite often it was being done through an auction, the dealer wholesale auctions. And so because of limited inventory, everybody's paying stupid money, just to, I need more inventory, inventory. And so that's what dealers are also faced with. It's costing them way too much to actually buy these things at auction, and therefore it's they got to put more money on it at the retail level, so therefore the used car prices go up just on that basis. Right?
No, for sure. What are some of the biggest industry trends that you're seeing? I kind of touched on one there with consumers buying new versus used. What are other trends that you're seeing in maybe the buying, selling industry, and then the insurance industry as well?
Well, one of the things that has been going on for a number of years, and maybe not necessarily to the awareness of the consumer, but instead of dealers taking in trade-ins and putting them through the auction so they can flip it for a reasonable profit, if it's a good vehicle, they're keeping it on their lot. So it's not as well circulated. So if you're bringing in your 3-year-old vehicle and they're now going to keep it as opposed to circulating through the auction. Right? So more and more dealers are trying to get inventory through those sort of methods. Even when they do, they're not necessarily going to pay out a lot because the focus has changed from trying to do business on volume to try to do it on margin. This happened as of COVID, right? So prior to COVID, you can always order vehicles. There was plenty of supply if, manufacturers weren't cutting back on inventory or allocations and things like that. But as of COVID, there was nothing available. Right? So dealers' inventories were dwindling, and they could no longer afford to sell vehicles at a minuscule margin. So they started to change their shift in the mindset. It went to a high margin, full MSRP, very little negotiating if you were a consumer coming in. We're still able to get deals, but even us, not as good as it used to be.
For sure.
Right? But we can still do better than the consumer in general.
For sure. Do you see the tariff? I don't want to talk too much about the tariffs, but do you see the tariffs putting an impact on that as well, trying to tighten? It'll probably tighten things up a little bit more for the dealers as well.
Yeah, not so much tighten things up as much as create a lot of confusion. One of the things that we're seeing is that if a vehicle is not already on the ground in their lot, they don't know how much they're paying for it.
Yeah.
So if we have to put an order in, well, we don't know what kind of tariffs are going to be there on anything that's getting exported or whatnot. And so in doing this, it's created a problem. I think that from a government standpoint, it just kind of shows poor leadership because tariffs are really nothing more than a tax, right? And that's a tax on incoming stuff.
Yeah.
So just because there's tariffs on the U.S. side doesn't mean that we have to try to fight eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Because when you put tariffs on, you're actually hurting the society. You're hurting the public.
Yeah.
Right? So
for sure.
We as a country would be way better off if we said, fine, you want to put tariffs on, put the tariffs on. We're going to buy more from different countries where we have good trade relations and things like that. And therefore, it'll help our society as opposed to hurt it.
For sure. I totally agree with that. But just to stay off of the tariff talk, just because I don't like getting politics.
You don't want to make too political, right?
Yeah, exactly. But how do you see the role of car brokers and independent dealers changing the buying process as everything is kind of slowly moving online?
Online is not necessarily the best solution.
Mm-hmm.
It could be for a number of deals, so a number of people will be happy, but there'll
Yep,
be a number of people that aren't happy.
for
And
sure.
dealers who try to go online will have more returns. So it could end up costing you more by
Yeah,
having that, right? There's pros and cons,
for
right?
sure.
From the online dealer standpoint, yes, now I'm consolidating all my inventory, but now I got to ship my inventory from, you know, Ontario to BC or something of that nature because that's where the purchase is coming from, or even if it's local, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're maintaining it here, we're delivering it to your door, so somebody's got to pay for that delivery,
Yeah, for sure. And
right?
people still want to show up at a dealership and talk to a person, look at the vehicle in person before buying it.
Exactly.
Because
I
there's a
want to
lot of
sit in there.
things.
I want to, make sure it feels right. I got,
Yeah,
my blind spots aren't blocking me. Um, there is a very personal relationship that people have with their cars.
oh, for sure, yeah.
And so by trying to move it online, I understand the theory behind
Mm-hmm.
that, but you're actually going to be, bleeding the company dry, I think,
For
by
sure.
putting all these things in. And if not the company, then having to charge a heck of a lot more to handle the returns and whatever else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, that's 100%. With all these new technologies and AI coming out, how do you see it changing the dealership side of things, and how are you using it in your company to really kind of make things a little bit more efficient as well?
Well, the AI solution, there's some major platforms out there like, Gemini and ChatGPT
Yeah.
and Grok and stuff like that. But they're losing billions of dollars because they're putting so
Mm-hmm.
much money into trying to develop this with no guaranteed end result,
Yeah.
right? There's also a whole whack of smaller AI sort of startups that are coming in, and from what I hear, many of them are not making a big go of it.
Yeah.
Um, it's not an easy thing to crack. Yes, there's certain things that if you do it properly, you can automate some of your processes.
Yeah.
Um, but the real reason that people want to look at online shopping or not dealing with a salesperson is that they don't want that pressure feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Brokers should not exist. People
Yeah.
should be able to go to a dealership, have a great positive experience in getting their next car, new car, used car, whichever it is, and walk away not having that pit in the bottom of your stomach saying, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
just did I just get screwed? Right? Did I pay more than I needed to?" And so people have been feeling like that for a long time, and that's what created the opportunity for brokers and whatnot to exist in the first place.
For
Right?
sure.
We should be able to go in and just have a positive experience, pay a fair price, both sides are happy, and do
Yeah.
business that
If
way.
if
Unfortunately, that's just
if
not the way of the world.
For sure. No, that makes 100 total sense, right? If someone were to get in a crash and say their vehicle got written off, um, what's an average price that someone would be paying to work with a broker like you to make sure that they're actually getting a proper deal and make sure they're actually getting the value out of the insurance company?
So we've helped people get back as little as an extra $750, but we've also helped people get back as much as $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
So 7,000 has been our highest. I think on average you can probably look at $2,000 to $3,000 is what we're able to help our customers get back. But
Yeah.
again, it's on a case by case basis.
Yeah, for
And
sure. And
not to speak ill of insurance companies in general, but sometimes the claims that they come back with, the settlement offers, okay, this is a fair number,
yeah,
right?
for
And
sure.
so in that situation, we don't charge the customer for that to review okay, if it's fair, we've reviewed your insurance company's valuation report. We think it's fair. Take the money and run, right?
Okay.
But I haven't
Cool.
seen too many of them.
Yeah. Yeah, for
I think
sure.
it's like one in the last 3 years that I might have seen, that are like,
For
but
sure.
everything else, yeah, we can help you get more money back.
For sure, they gotta make money, right? They're part of that's part of their business, right? And everyone does it, right?
Yeah.
What would a consumer looking to invest if they came to work with you?
Well, we don't charge for an insurance claim
Okay.
per se unless we can help them get more.
Okay.
So it's all
Yeah.
on a contingency basis. It'll
That's
take
cool.
us about 6 to 8 hours or so to properly do research on average, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes it's more, but on average 6 to 8 hours roughly, I'd say. And if we can help you get more through our service, then we will split that. But we're not going to charge you for any of that time. We're not going to charge you for all the negotiations that we do with the appraiser or go through that umpire process. That's all done free of charge. But at the end, if we are able to help you get more money, we're going to split that benefit with you.
Yeah,
That's
for
how we
sure.
charge.
And part of that program is helping them find a new vehicle as well, or is that an additional
That's
program?
That's it.
Okay.
So we do this a la carte. So the insurance
Yeah.
claim is here. Some people want to replace the car, some people don't. Some people may already have a vehicle. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different situations.
That's true. Yeah.
So everything's a la carte.
Okay. Super cool. That's awesome. Do you see many companies, auto brokers out there that have kind of come up and tried to take over your game, or do you see is it not a saturated business? And you have to have a lot of knowledge within the automotive space. You need to have knowledge in the insurance side. You need to have knowledge in the automotive side. So it'd be really tough for a company to actually succeed if they didn't know what they were doing. But do you see a lot more companies kind of moving in towards your direction?
No, I see a lot of those types of companies over the last several years have actually
Okay.
closed down
Okay.
because the general consumer behavior, we've all been conditioned by the auto industry itself through trillions of dollars worth of marketing. We've all been conditioned to buy cars a certain way.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the way we continue to do it. And in many cases, this is how my dad bought it and his dad bought it. And
Yeah.
so therefore, this is the way I've been taught to bought it, to buy a vehicle. And so we kind of follow that same sort of pattern. And so when somebody comes in and says, well, you've been doing it wrong all these years, right? Let us help you do it the correct way. It's
Yeah.
kind of too good to be true,
For sure.
right? But there's a lot of people out there who've started to become conditioned to it. And we put in mechanisms as well. We said, listen, if you think this is the right way to do it, you go do it that way, and then we'll offer a free price check to see
Yeah.
if you've actually, done a good job or not. If
Yeah.
if you've left money on the table and if it's worth using our service, we can let you know at that point. So there's no obligation. But when we first started, we said, believe us, we can do much better than you can. And oh no, we don't necessarily believe. That's the way we've always been buying things, right? So we don't believe. But once we opened up that opportunity and said, listen, go do your own way.
Mm-hmm.
We'll offer a free price check. If you've left money on the table, we'll let you know. Or if you've done a good deal already, we'll let you know. And take the car and run, right? So
That's
that's
super
really
cool.
opened the doors for trust.
Yeah, for sure. And then at least they can look at if they think they're good buyers or good sellers, at least they can come back and look to see how they did, right?
Yeah,
They get
exactly.
they get a second way to see how their negotiation skills really are, and if they did get a good vehicle for a good deal, right? And that's and then they know for next time, right? They know that
Well,
maybe they should
that's
come
true.
talk
Like
to a
most of my
broker.
customers now are repeat customers, right? We do
Yeah.
get some new ones time and again, but we've been in business long enough that we've got this clientele list that every 3, 4, 5, 6 years they're looking to replace their vehicle, or if they've totaled their vehicle, they now know who they can come to, right?
For sure. Do you see a lot more people come in your direction in the past year or two, or has it really slowed down?
It's slowed down a bit, certainly with availability of cars and people keeping cars longer. It's
For
certainly
sure.
slowed down from what it used to be, but our claims part of it has picked up a lot, right, over the last.
Yeah.
It's only been about 2 years that we've offered the service to consumers
Okay.
for
Cool,
the
cool.
claims, and so that is continuing to build. And then once they've lost their car, what do they need? They need another car.
They need a new vehicle. Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
So we're getting a
For
lot
sure.
of fresh buyers who are somehow finding us on the internet because we don't really advertise it.
Yeah.
People just find us and say, "Hey, this is what's happening with my insurance claim, and we need some help."
That's cool. That's awesome. Do you see it more coming from the Ontario area, or is it pretty diverse still, through everyone wanting the insurance side of things?
We've had claims in the U.S. We've had claims from BC. We've had claims from Ontario. So I guess from that standpoint, it's wherever people find us, right?
Little diverse, yeah.
I had somebody from California and he called and says, what's happening? I said, well, how did you find us? How did you hear about it? Well, the police officer who was on site told me about you.
Wow.
He's now Californian.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How the heck did he find out about us, right?
Yeah. That's super cool. That's awesome. At least the word's getting out there, right? And it's something that can really help people as long as they actually take into account and don't be so stubborn and take the help, because like you said, the one girl that you helped, she saved $4,000. Like that's not a little chunk of money. $6,000, yeah. That's not a little chunk of money, right? Like
especially to somebody in that phase of life, I can only afford so much, this and that. She made back a lot more money.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was a hassle dealing with ICBC, but
that's what you guys are there for, right? You're there to help people get the true value out of their vehicle.
Yeah. We help them navigate that process as well, because they don't understand it, they don't know it. So
yeah,
you just let me do what I do. Here's the report. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to say. We coach them through that process, and that way.
It's really cool.
It's a lot. My wife, one year, her vehicle was totaled. This is before I was offering it to consumers, but I was also at that point offering it to all these insurance companies and doing work with them.
Yeah.
And so she thought she was in for this major issue. Don't worry, honey, I'll take care of it, right? And it was just, she's like, I don't believe how smoothly the whole thing went. I didn't have to stress over it at all. Well, that's what I do, right?
That's what you want it. That's how you want it to work, right?
That's right. That's how it should work for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of spoke earlier about how 2 years ago you guys transitioned more into the insurance side of things. What are the goals for the next 2 years? What's the big vision behind the company? Do you want to continue on the insurance side of the team, maybe grow your company a little bit bigger so you can offer more variety around the world, maybe get your name out there even a little bit more? What's the big goal for the company?
From the company standpoint, so I've got two companies. One of them is this AutoClaim Helpers with Automotive Network, and the other is called Transition Squad. And Transition Squad is the one that you mentioned that we're doing estate sales and online auctions to help seniors downsize. And one of my goals there is to, right now I've been focusing more of my attention on that. Mm-hmm. We've now grown from Toronto to also adding Tampa in Florida and Ohio, and now we're adding Barrie, and so that part of it is growing much more quickly, and it's taking up a certain amount of my time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to put a lot more effort into trying to grow Automotive Network at this stage. If the business comes in, we're there to help people.
For sure.
But right now we're focusing on the Transition Squad portion of it. And there too, we've added a podcast of our own.
Awesome.
Right. So this is good practice for me. Right.
Yeah.
It's called Senioropedia. Cool. And as we add more and more interviews like you're doing with me, we envision it to become the everything how-to guide for seniors and caregivers.
Okay.
Because we're all going to get there at some point, and the right information is hard to find. There's a lot of misinformation, but if you enter something into Google, you get 50 million hits, and nobody's going to read all that information. So how do you dissect? So we're talking to specialists, health, finance, legal, personal challenges people face, resources like find a realtor. So we're putting all of that together on that side.
Super cool. Do you mind explaining a little bit of what you guys do on that side of the company?
Sure. Like I said, we're all going to get to that point in our lives at some point. And, have you ever helped downsize a parent or dealt with their loss?
Grandparent, yeah.
Grandparent? Okay. And so that they've collected 30, 40, 50 years worth of things in their house.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's time, whether it's moving to a retirement home or just at a smaller premises, or in some cases they've passed away, and now the kids are left with, what do I do with the house and everything in it?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we come in. We're a full service downsizing company. So we'll come in, we'll pull everything out of the cupboards, we'll set them up into lots, we'll put them onto our own online auction platform that we built. So we're selling online. And then it's a hybrid solution because whatever doesn't sell online, we also have an open to the public estate sale and
Super
bring
cool.
fresh buyers in all the time, right? And so our specialty is sort of monetizing the contents to try to maximize the dollar value of this back to the client's estate or to the client themselves.
That's awesome.
Right. And then once that's over, whatever hasn't sold, we provide donation management. Whatever the donation companies won't take, we'll dispose of. We also offer packing and moving. So it is a very comprehensive set of services, one-stop shopping, and but clients can buy it a la carte.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's really cool, especially with this day and age, because there's a lot of people getting to that age where they need to downsize, and a lot of people live in the city and they don't have the room to kind of take over some of these belongings, right? And a lot of people don't have the time either. Like, a lot of people are working a 9-to-5 job, they get home and maybe their parents live 2 hours away, maybe they're 2 hours from Toronto. It takes a lot. It would be a lot of work to drive 2 hours and clean everything out.
It is a lot. Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
And the kids don't want their parents' stuff either, right?
Yeah.
Who wants that old solid wood oak dining set, right? Nowadays, people are much more into the minimalist sort of or modern look, even.
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of people are buying stuff at IKEA and whatnot because it's kind of disposable.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's totally true. So as for the goal, so you want to kind of start growing that company. What are some of the goals that you want to hit in the next 6 to 12 months for your moving company? Yeah, sorry, I forgot the name of it.
Transition Squad?
Transition Squad, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to be looking at taking on some investors, doing our first round of external investors because, there's very few online sort of platforms that ever make a profit, right?
Yeah.
So we're fortunate enough that we've been able to bootstrap everything up until now. We've been making a profit for a few years now, and now it's a matter of scaling.
Yeah.
And so in order to scale, you kind of need the dollars for marketing and staff and things of that nature. So in the next 6 to 12 months, I'm going to be looking for having some investors.
Awesome.
Taking that and going into multiple markets, and also using those funds to buy, fix and flip real estate down in the U.S.
Okay, super cool.
As I said, we've already started opening up Tampa and Ohio, and there's lots of areas in the States where it makes much more sense to be able to do this sort of thing. And part of our solution down there is that if you just want a quick close, a lot of people don't want to go through the headaches of trying to modernize their place, fix it up, rehab it as they call it. They just want to get some money and get out. Maybe they've inherited the house in Florida and the family doesn't want to go back and forth and manage all that process, right? Or it needs a new roof and that's going to be $6,000. We don't want to put $6,000 into this at this point. And so they'll let it go for a lot less. We can just come in, make a cash offer based on the amount of rehab and whatnot that it has, and then we can sell it off on our schedule. So that's one of the approaches that we're doing with that.
So do you guys have teams in the States as well that are working for you guys? Or
Yes.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah.
Super cool.
So any kind of online selling these days, no matter whether you're using Facebook Marketplace or whether you're doing anything online, it requires two parts. There's an on-site labor component where, in our case, it's a matter of doing the photography of the items, putting it together in lots, writing up descriptions, and then managing the pickup after the selling is done, right? And so that's the on-site component. Then there's the back office, which is conducting the online selling, marketing, and credit card processing to make sure that you've got serious customers and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And so we can do the back office remotely to wherever. Doesn't matter where the on-site is. But as far as the on-site labor, we need feet on the ground.
For sure.
We need feet on the street who are actually meeting with the customers and have pulled their teams together to, come do the photography, get it online into our website, things like that. So yes,
That's
we
really
have
cool.
people in the Tampa Bay area, and we have people in the Columbus, Cleveland area in Ohio. And,
That's awesome.
We look to open it up further from there.
That's super cool. How big is your team, if you don't mind me asking? How many, and are you looking to get in, you said you're looking to get into Barrie coming soon. Are you looking to get into more states as well, or different provinces around?
Absolutely. So our team consists of some people who are part of our core employee base, and then everybody else who's strategic partner.
Okay.
So in each local market, we have strategic partners who are not our employees per se. They're independent businesses that are using our platform to conduct auctions and local selling and things of that nature. So collectively, if you're thinking about that team, we're probably about 20 people right now.
Nice. That's awesome. That's super
Thank you.
cool. Awesome. Well, I'm out of questions for you. It's super cool that we got to dive into Transition Squad.
All of these things, right? All the things.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about all of them.
No worries. I'm glad to have you on, and especially someone local, right, from Toronto. I'm about 2 hours northwest of Toronto, in a small town of Walkerton.
Okay.
But yeah, it's super cool to talk to locals. I've had a couple dealerships from London come on the podcast, and it's just it's really cool hearing about companies around in the area, right? Because Ontario is huge, obviously, and there's a lot of people in Ontario. But it's just cool to have one-on-one conversations with businesses that are doing something a little bit different, and businesses that are doing something really well that you've never heard of. So
yeah,
it's
you have
super
to do
cool.
these things differently these days because there's too much competition of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And too much noise out there as well. So you have to be able to differentiate yourself and add a lot more value back to your customer. If you don't add the value, there's no point in, why do they need to use you, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you have to always keep innovating.
If people wanted to find your website or find your social media, what would they look up?
Well, they can look up automallnetwork.com. They can look up AutoClaimHelpers.com, which is an extension to that website. They can look up TransitionSquad.com.
Awesome.
And so they'll find all of those on various social media as well as.
Okay, super cool. That's awesome. Well, Viraf, I really appreciate you taking your time to come on the podcast today. That was super cool.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Maybe we could, we'll definitely touch base in maybe a couple months and see how Transition Squad's coming along with the new investors. Obviously, it's not automotive based, but that's okay. I still like talking to local people that have really well-running businesses and getting some insights from companies that you don't hear much about and businesses you don't hear much about. You don't hear much about that side of business, right? There's not many companies out there that are doing what you do, and I think it's really cool what you're bringing to the market.
Thank you.
No worries. Well, thanks for coming on.